Welcome to the Empirical Scouting Podcast with your hosts, Taylor and Taylor. Today we're going to be diving into our top quarterbacks for the 2024 NFL Draft. I'm pretty sure we're going to have some differences here. So we are going to do our top 7 because obviously Caleb Williams and Drake May are going to be our number 1 and number 2. So we wanted to try to get a little bit different and bring in 7. So I am going to give you the floor with your 7th ranked quarterback.
So I'm not sure how many people are going to know who he is. He was just featured though this past week in Bruce Feldman's Freak List. My number 7 ranked quarterback currently is Boise State's Taylen Green. Taylen Green is from, let's see, where exactly? He's from Louisville, Texas. He went to Louisville High School. He is listed at 6'6", 223. So he's tall, number 1.
Yeah.
But number 2 is he is athletic. Dude can run. Dude can move around. He's got good size. For Bruce Feldman, he has hit 23 miles per hour on GPS, which is pretty dang fast. Don't know how that would translate exactly to a 40 time or 20 time. He's got above average arm strength at least. He can put some velocity, he can put some zip onto it. And he's, like I said, athletic. He can move around, throw cross body, make some throws with some touch, layering over the middle. He's still a little bit raw, still working through stuff. He's got a habit of throwing off his back foot. And he can be kind of slow with his processing. You see him try to go through the progressions, but then he just kind of takes way longer than, what you'll see a pro quarterback do. Grab, look, and then wait, and then look, wait, look, and then it just kind of takes too long. And he's not really throwing with a lot of anticipation right now. But there's a big ball of play to work with there that could be. So he's my number 7 guy right now.
Interesting. I mean, I've heard him through, other people's articles or just seeing him around. Ironically enough, I think the first time I saw him I was looking at college fantasy football. But I'm not really playing that. But it was one of those things where I've seen the name, also with the last name Green. It kind of stuck out to me. So I've seen it. Admittedly, haven't really watched Boise State since, they probably played Georgia. So I will move on to my number 7. Mine's going to be a little bit more chalky with at least the players on my list. My number 7 is going to be Jaxson Dart from Ole Miss, 6'2", 220. Threw for nearly 3,000 yards last year, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 614 yards on the ground at 4.8 yards per carry, and another touchdown on the ground. My thing is he's very athletic, and you know that about me. I love my athletes, whether it's quarterback position, running back, linebacker. I don't care. If you're an athlete, I probably like you. He has good size and build. 6'2", 220 is a pretty good size, especially when you see quarterbacks such as Bryce Young and others coming in.
You really
at younger.
think he's 220 though?
No, he's probably honestly 6'1", 208, 210.
I don't even know he's that heavy, truthfully.
Yeah.
Continue.
It could. It's one of those things where you just have to rely on whatever's given to us until the scouting combine. Once we see that, then you have the numbers and adjust when need be. If he all of a sudden comes in at like 6 foot 200. Then he's probably not going to be the number 7 quarterback, barring what he does this next coming year. But I love his mobility. He's willing to run. He's willing to scramble. But when he does scramble, he does keep his eyes downfield, and it's something that I've noticed that it helps him, but it also hurts him. He tends to try to force things in. There'll be plenty of passes that there'll be tight windows. He'll scramble, spin away from a defender. Run towards the sideline instead of just throwing the ball out of bounds or taking like a 1 yard loss to a 1 yard gain. He'll try to chuck it downfield. And if it's anywhere near the defender, it's probably intercepted, which is where you can see the 11 interceptions. to me, it's a little bit of like overconfidence. I don't want to say cocky because I don't really know him like that. But he does seem to have that overconfidence where he thinks he can fit the ball in where the ball just shouldn't go. And then my biggest worry is on more of like what I'm missing is I want to know why Lane Kiffin brought in both Spencer Sanders and Walker Howard after the year that Jaxson Dart had. He didn't have a spectacular year, and I'm sure Walker Howard's more for the future. But to me, it doesn't scream confidence that Jaxson Dart is your guy, especially bringing in Spencer Sanders, who was very productive. And I'm sure he's going to win the job. I like Jaxson Dart more than Spencer Sanders personally, but it just has that. It's just in the back of my mind, like, why did they do that? Like, if I like him, but if I like someone, but then the coach brings in two other potential starting quarterbacks, it's like, what am I missing here?
So I truthfully haven't graded Jaxson Dart at all yet, and that's because my limited exposure of him so far has been mostly negative. When I've seen him in games so far for Ole Miss, he's come off as inaccurate to me. He's willy-nilly. I hate using that phrase, so that's all I can think of right now. With the way he runs around with the ball and such, like, he kind of waves it around and he holds it low. It doesn't scream polish. Truthfully, he's got a decent arm, but I don't think he's got like a great arm necessarily. He's athletic, but I don't think he's like this crazy athlete particularly. Like, it's a lot of. I don't know how to. I can't think of a good comparison right now for me from like a past college quarterback, but it's like almost like Johnny Manziel without me feeling like he's special, like the way I felt Manziel was special at the time when I was young.
Yeah,
but that's just
I thought about Johnny Manziel as well. To be honest,
like,
just because
the play style's similar, right? Like,
yeah,
but he's not winning the way Manziel was.
no, but he's also not doing all the crazy as much crazy things as Jaxson Dart will do. He's not spinning, doing 360s, throwing the ball up to Mike Evans. He doesn't have Mike Evans to do so. I am my like one, like, it's not obviously I'm not really that good. Well, he did. And there was some catches that he had. I was like, I didn't even see that when I was looking at Mingo last year. I know, but anyway, it's obviously I'm not very especially not as good as you at player comps. But my thing was, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like obviously way less accurate, but more athletic, like Alex Smith in a sense. Just the way he would just scramble out of the pocket. He's willing to take the 5-8 yards. But it was just his willingness to scramble and then keep going. He wasn't like a Bryce Young where he would just get what he can, get out of bounds. It wasn't, to me, he was a little bit more athletic. He was a little bit more athletic than Johnny Manziel in the way he ran. He's also bigger.
Definitely more athletic than Manziel,
yeah. So to me, I was just like, it kind of reminded me, and it's been a long time. So I had to like go back and watch a couple highlights of Alex Smith, but he's not Alex Smith, but it just reminded me a little bit of him. Just little parts of his game. It could have been specific plays, but that's what I kind of saw in him.
Fair enough. So my number 6 guy right now, a lot of people I think have him higher, but my number 6 guy is currently Michael Penix Jr. from Washington. See if I can do this real quick. Give anybody who watches the video a quick preview that comes up. There we go. So Penix is currently my number 6 guy. I have round 3 grade on him. There's a lot to like, but there's red flags. There's red flags you got to acknowledge. Number 1, going to be a 6th-year senior. People gave Hendon Hooker some crap for the way he was an older prospect. The injury history with Penix is bad. Like, you can't ignore it. You got to acknowledge that this guy has had these issues. He's got a crazy strong arm. You can see the velocity. You can see the strength when you watch him play. But he's not as accurate as, people may want. And so, like, this is a game I personally charted. There's green. That's great. Not all these quarterbacks in this year's draft have as much green as this. But the orange, it's like he's getting these completions, but he's putting the ball in spots where, like, the receivers don't have a chance to run after the catch, which that's a negative. Like, you got to be like, let's just be real here. You're not giving your receiver a chance to run after the catch, and like you're sacrificing yards. You're giving up yards that your offense could have. But that being said, like, there is certainly some good traits there. He's got a strong arm. He can hit throws that deep down the field that not all the quarterbacks can hit. But there's still work to be done on him, in my opinion, as a development for a quarterback.
Yeah. He just fell out my top 7. He was actually
Really
my number 8. Yeah, he was my number 8. And to me, it's kind of exactly what you said. That arm strength is obviously crazy. You see it, and it's there. But however, kind of in a sense, what you're saying, he's very accurate. But how do I describe it? When everything goes right, he's extremely accurate. When he has the quick throws, when he can make the right reads, he's extremely accurate. But to me, it seemed like as soon as one or two things went wrong, it kind of started that decline of how accurate he is and how good the ball comes out of his hand. I definitely don't like that he's that old. I know it's coming from a Georgia fan, but it's as far as NFL success, it's kind of odd to see a 6-year senior, burst onto the scene as fifth year, continue this year, which I'm sure his stats are going to be there. But then go into the NFL at that age with that injury history and succeed. I think he's had 2 or 3 season-ending injuries, and that's you just can't.
He had a torn ligament in his knee in 2018. Mm-hmm. He missed games in 19, and he had a right shoulder surgery in 19, and he tore his ACL in 2020, mm-hmm. and he had an AC joint get separated into this season in 2021. It's a lot of injuries.
It's a lot, and I think he's just going to be one of those college quarterbacks that shows a lot of success in Washington. It's going to be a really tough team. I don't personally have them winning or even making it to the Pac-12 championship, but it's one of those situations where I could see on the arm of Michael Penix Jr. they make it to the Pac-12 championship.
It's possible. They got a lot of talent on that team. Mm-hmm. They got a quarterback. They got 2 really talented wide receivers. They have some talent on defense as well. Like it's just the team's going to be good, but the Pac-12 is going to be competitive. Oregon's going to be good. 100%. Oregon has a lot of talent. USC is going to be pretty good. Utah is probably going to be a good football team, mechanically sound, good coaching. So it's going to be competitive.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a tough league. But to me, as far as NFL talent and NFL success, I personally just don't see. I think there's too many red flags for Michael Penix to put him on my top 7 list.
That's fair. Who was your 6th?
So coming in at my 6th, it's going to be Bo Nix. 6'2", 217, just shy of 3,600 yards in the air, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 510 rushing yards at a 5.7 yards per carry clip, and 14 rushing touchdowns. 14 rushing touchdowns is wild. But for me, obviously I've seen Bo Nix a lot, being a Georgia fan versus, facing Auburn many times and then opening up the year last year with Oregon. And I haven't seen much success from him against us. We call him Bo Picks for a reason. But at Oregon, after the Georgia game, it seemed like he settled in. He fit the offense that they're trying to run, and that's why you saw so much success with them. Obviously out of structure. It's one of those things where he can make the crazy plays. I mean, he's won games on it and he's lost games making a Bo Nix play. But not only that is I think he sees so much success having the willingness to just take what the defense gives him. I watched a few games and the amount of just dump off passes, the amount of 1 to 3 yard scrambles, he's learned to not try to play hero ball, which is one of like my negatives on him. But it's starting to correct itself at the time at Oregon, because at Auburn he would tend to try to win every single game on his own. I mean, he's living up to the Bo Nix or the Nix name at Auburn. He had a lot of pressure on him coming in, starting as a freshman, and he tried to do too much at Auburn. And I think a clean bill of health starting at Oregon, a clean slate starting at Oregon, he can just he starts fresh. It's a better offense for him, and I think he's gonna put up numbers this year, and I fully believe he's gonna be a top 5 Heisman candidate as well.
So this actually works out perfect because he is my QB5 currently, and I have also a round 3 grade on him right now. Watching him at Oregon post the Georgia game, I think the Georgia game, they came in, it was a lot of new starters, a lot of new staff, new offense, everything. Like there was just too much there to go against a team that is as good as what that Georgia team was to look good in week 1. But watching Nix at Oregon was enlightening after seeing him at Auburn. I had an opinion in my head that he was not going to be good, and because I didn't see him a lot live last year at Oregon, and he was a lot better on tape, really reviewing it and really digging deep than I thought he was going to be. You can see what I've written up so far right now about him. He's got a good arm, not a great arm. Like he's got an arm to throw to all 3 levels, but I wouldn't say it's anything special. He's definitely athletic. We can see that. He just seems to have less pressure almost at Oregon. It really feels like, number one, Auburn has been a mess of a program since he had gotten there. But number 2, it just feels like he isn't trying to be someone he's not now. I think he wanted to be more than he was at Oregon. But you can see that his accuracy just improved a bunch. The game slowed down a little bit for him, and he's gotten better, truthfully. That being said, we'll see this year because they lost their offensive coordinator, I want to say, to Arizona State. I think he's the head coach at Arizona State now.
I can't recall off the top of my head.
It's Arizona or Arizona State.
It sounds right, though.
Kenny Dillingham is gone, and that offense was good last year. So it's going to be telling if part of the success was just the offensive coordinator calling great games, or if Bo Nix is actually that talented, and Troy Franklin is actually that talented, and so on and so forth. But he comes off a little bit robotic sometimes to me still, which is part of the Trubisky comp. I really felt like Trubisky was almost so robotic at UNC, and even for the first couple of years with the Bears. But I think if he really comes out this year and he shows out, I could see him getting late round 1, early round 2 hype, truthfully.
Yeah, no, I can see it, especially with the numbers he's inevitably going to put up with that offense. And I do like the Mitch Trubisky comp. They both share a common thing, and both losing an opening game to Georgia. So I'll move on to my number 5, who honestly, this guy in Bo Nix, I was flip flopping back and forth, and kind of what you said at the end, the nail in the coffin for me is I'm just holding. I still have a little bit of negativity, seeing him for a couple of years. That I need. It's like I need to see it again. I need to see you do this again to move up my board. But Penix is a guy that I do think can move up to that 3-4 range by the end of the year. So my number 5 guy, who I've fallen in love with over the last couple of months, actually, is Jordan Travis. I am on the Florida State bandwagon right now. 6'1", 212, 3,200 yards in the air, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 417 yards on the ground at a 5.1 yards per carry clip and a touchdown. The theme is athlete. I love my athletes, and he definitely is an athlete. He has the ability to scramble and extend plays whenever needed. Solid arm strength, nothing to write home about. It probably is average at best arm strength, so I won't give him that as a positive. But to me, if Florida State is going to be as good as I project them to be, it's going to be a lot of it is going to be on Jordan Travis. And I think he can make that leap. Now, obviously, he has a lot of negatives as well. He's played for a long time in college, and this is his first time actually showing some positive growth, I should say, coming into last year. He's been benched a couple of times. Like, I could be a fool and just believing in the hype right now. But for right now, I have him as my 5th quarterback. He is small as well, so that's another thing, especially with someone who's scrambling and doesn't really know how to protect his body as well as, say, Bryce Young again. So injury risk for sure. But to me, I'm just all aboard that Florida State high chain right
now. I can see Florida State, the hype for them being good, like as a college team, and they definitely have some NFL talent. Like, not even gonna act like that's not true. Jordan Travis, though, specifically, I'm not there yet, and I truthfully, like, even if you bought in, like, you seem to be more grounded than some of the other people that have bought in on him. Truthfully, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not placing Heisman futures on him at all. Or first round features either. So
see, there's a lot of people that really feel like he's got a first round future, and he may. I'm like, it's August, like the season hasn't even started yet. But I'm just not there yet. There's mechanical issues that he has that his lower body mechanics, I don't think are there right now. And part of like what happens with his lower body is it causes these inaccuracies, and people like it's the same thing almost with like Penix I was talking about, where like he gets the completion, but it's not good ball placement. And it's not, he's giving up yards because the receiver's making an athletic catch and not really being able to like turn upfield and run afterwards. And it bugs me right now. And there's a lot of just throwing the ball up to Johnny Wilson right now. Which, it's for the second time in the show. It's some Manziel to Evans.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Yeah, I mean it's a natural comparison. An athletic quarterback who tosses the ball up to a monster receiver, and receiver. Exactly, and just saying, "Hey, can you bring that ball down?" And usually he does.
Yeah, but I'm truthfully not there yet on Jordan Travis. I think. Let me see what I have him graded at. I have him graded as like a day 3 grade.
Fair.
Right now, that can change. I've been wrong before. I've changed I've changed my grades, my initial grades before, not my grade grade. Those are posted on the record. Like they are.
I've tried to catch you a few times on it. But it's one of those things. It's one of those things where I can see him grow. It's more of a projection than saying where he's at currently.
Yeah.
And again, it could just be the hype train because there's a lot of Florida State players that I quite enjoy watching right now.
That's fair. So my number 4 guy right now, I don't think people are as bought in on him as I am. But my guy right now is JJ McCarthy at number 4. Um, I have him as a second round grade currently, and there is quite a bit of projection there. He's going to be a true junior. You see, when you watch him play, you see a guy that can go through progressions and he can make athletic plays on the run. He's got a strong arm. Like, it's not Patrick Mahomes, but he's got a above average arm. And reportedly, he's gone from being a 4.7 guy to a 4.5 guy on the 40 since he's gotten to Michigan. And you can see it when he scrambles and runs. He's got wheels. He's quick. And there is a lot to keep working with there. There's a lot of natural physical talent. That being said, the dude he takes forever to go through progression sometimes, and he struggles with keying on the defense properly, and he struggles with making decisions in a fast manner. Like, he takes care of the ball generally. Like I don't want to say he had like maybe 1 or 2 interceptions up until the Big Ten championship. Like, I think he threw as many interceptions against TCU as he did like the whole year. So generally he's pretty safe with the ball, but he's got to be better about going fast through everything, and he's got to gain weight. He's listed at like 197 right now, which the dude's gonna definitely, if he doesn't naturally gain weight, he's gonna be definitely pulling a whole Bryce Young chugging water combine. He does go pro eventually. But there's a lot of natural talent there to work with that could end up being something special if he puts it all together.
Yeah, and that works perfectly because my number 4 is also JJ McCarthy. 6'3", but only 202. So like you said, that is a little bit concerning. But 2,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So that's good to see that touchdown interception ratio so low. 306 yards on the ground, 4.4 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns. Honestly, you hit every point, like you were reading off my sheet. Extremely athletic, shows willingness to use his legs and extend plays. Fast, decently strong arm, but nothing, elite. And he's my QB4 because I am projecting rather than his current performance. Those were most of my notes. My negatives, I wrote he is slightly slow at processing defenses. But to me, I believe it's more so. I mean, it's obviously him, but it's more so on the Michigan offense because I don't believe they're asking him to do so. I don't think they're asking him to read a defense. I think, they run the ball so much, and he has his reads. You look one way. If he's covered, you look the other way. If not, you run. I don't think he's necessarily having to break down the defense as much as other offenses, require the quarterback to do so. So to me, it's kind of like that offense kind of holds him back a little bit from the development that we've been waiting for. Because I know both of us were kind of high on him. I was especially high on him even, at the blowout versus Georgia in the Orange Bowl when he got in the game. Granted, the game was already over, but he was balling. You can see the balls up out of his hand. He looked like he had control of that offense. He was running. He was completing passes. He was moving down the field. And that's something I was excited to see. Last year, he didn't do as well as I projected him to do so. But to me, I think it's that Michigan offense that is slightly hurting that development just because it's such a old school style of offense. And it's honestly similar to what we see at Georgia, which is a lot of times why Georgia quarterbacks are known for not developing as well.
My number 3 quarterback is Riley Leonard of Duke, who Daniel Jones is the only comparison I have right now for him. I don't love it, and I don't love the same school comparisons, but it's the immediate first thing that pops in my head when I saw him play and I first watched him. He got some good size to him. He's a true junior. He was a team captain as a sophomore, which, it's great that he was quarterbacks are always team captains, but
You like to see it when they're underclassmen. When they're a true sophomore, it kind of shows some good leadership, in my opinion. Um, and a first year starter. He's got some good footwork to him in some respects. He will, he's got a good, you know, I can't think of the proper terminology right now, like the sidestep or the slide steps almost, where like you look left and then when you don't have it, you pivot and you look right and you immediately throw. Is crisp when he's got a clean pocket and he's got time to do it. And he can go through, you see him go through progressions. You see him scan the full field and come back and hit the, second, third guy at times. And his release is really smooth. It's quick. Teams are going to love that. He's got some mechanical issues. He overstrides at times, which causes inaccuracies. He's got a good completion percentage on paper, but it's once again more of the getting it to the guy and then catching it, but not having good ball placement. So he's giving up yards in that respect. He's got a bad habit of like when things will break down in the pocket in front of him. If he's not scrambling and taking off, he's backing up and throwing off his back foot, which you can get away with sometimes. But as we're seeing with Anthony Richardson just so far in the preseason, it's not something you're going to get away with in the pros. But he's got some tools to work with there, and he's got potential. I would feel comfortable, truthfully. I have a second round grade on him, but the way I grade, I only have like 10 to 25 first round grades typically. So Riley Leonard's probably a top 32 player for me right now, even though he's not a first round graded player. So I truthfully, like if I'm a franchise right now and I'm drafting in the 20s and I need a quarterback, I might be willing to take the shot on him for the 5th year option. But I don't know if I love it.
But I'll move on to my number 3. It's someone who I know is not on your list, and you know that I stand him a lot, but it's going to be Quinn Ewers out of Texas. 6'2", but only 195. Obviously, he needs to build up on that weight because if he's listed at 195, 185, 190 pushing, and he's got to get up there a little bit. He's a little bit of a slender frame, which is something I actually did not realize about him until I looked at his weight. But 2,200 yards in the air, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, nothing to write home about. Obviously, he had the injury against Alabama. This is a ceiling play for me. I think his ceiling is above everyone that we've talked about yet so far. Obviously, there is also the 4, but I am calling my shot with the ceiling. He's displayed that NFL arm strength many times. It's not top of the top elite arm, but it's a very, very strong arm. He showed the capability to be accurate to all levels of the field. My favorite thing about him is he tends to look like a shortstop out there. He can throw from all different arm angles. Create those windows when he doesn't have a window to complete the pass. However, sometimes, and I'm going to relate it back to baseball, sometimes it causes his errant throws. When you're using all arm angles, and he relies on his arms so much that it doesn't look like he doesn't use his lower half that often. He's not following through. It reminds me of a middle infielder, especially some of the kids that I've taught in the past that they just throw the ball and stand there. And yeah, you're gonna get thrown to first base accurately a handful of times, but there's gonna be times, especially in the heat of the moment, where that ball is gonna fly left or fly right, and it's because you're not following through. You're not using your lower half. You're not following your pass. And I know quarterbacks are taught the same thing. You have to follow through. You have, your feet just don't stand planted. You have to get your hips involved. And I think that's what he does wrong. And that causes a lot of the issues that hopefully he can correct. to me, he has all the tools that a starting NFL quarterback would need, minus the athleticism. He's not going to run around, scramble for a lot of yards, but he can extend plays, and that's what I think can keep him as one of my top quarterbacks. But all his tools to me aren't clicking yet. Now, whether that's inexperience and youth, because remember, he would just be a true sophomore if he didn't, skip a grade to go to Ohio State. That's the wait and see, because it could also be he's just not working on it, whether it's the willingness to learn or even caring. I'm not going to judge him on that yet, but it's something that I'm a little bit hesitant on, that I want to see him learn and continue to grow going into year 3. And probably this is going to be last year at Texas, whether he likes it or not. So it's either going to be
100%.
the NFL or it's either going to be the NFL or he's got to transfer to a new school. He's not getting
it's either he's gonna have, and if he transfers again, I don't know if he can even play right away unless it's a grad transfer.
Yeah,
but
right.
If he's not good this year, or if he is struggling, I don't think they're gonna wait on not even Arch. Malik Murphy's there too.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Murphy's got some talent.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that one of those two guys are going to push for his job this year if he's not performing, because Texas is coming in this year with playoff expectations and aspirations. Quinn, to me, I have him at QB9. I see the arm talent. I see the skinny frame, like you're mentioning. Not overly mobile. He can make throws to all levels of the field with a really good accuracy. Like, he can hit it on the money, but he's inconsistent with it, and he's got this winding, loopy release almost that I don't know if his release is the issue. I don't know if it's his footwork. Like, I truthfully haven't dove deep enough yet. But there's some really bad film for him this past year. But there's also good film. So it's just it's time to put up or shut up. As the guy that's the number one all-time quarterback recruit. But my comparison that I had for him right now is Aaron Rodgers as a prospect from Cal, and people are gonna hear that and they're gonna think that doesn't make any sense. But think about who Aaron Rodgers was as a prospect. This guy had insane arm talent. He was athletic, but he had weird mechanics that had to be reworked from the ground up, and he had 4 years to do that at the NFL level, where he just obsessed over it for every day in practice, changing what he knew and how to throw, and it worked. But Ewers is probably not going to get that luxury.
Most likely not. Exactly. And honestly, Aaron Rodgers is who I wrote down as well. Kind of same idea as you were talking about, gunslinger mentality. I think we just need to remember that he's playing a year up also. And I think, honestly, the skipping his senior year, going to Ohio State to sit, might have hurt his development a tad. He's so low on the depth chart. I think he probably could see the writing that he was never going to play his first year, probably not even his second year at Ohio State, and that's why he left. And
he wouldn't have been playing until this year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think while the bunny's great and, the story is great, I think it could have hurt some of his development, but I'm not ready to give up on it yet. I think he still has time.
Yeah, he does. He can show it this year. He's got the talent around him to show it. But I think we both said our 3 through 7s. I have Drake May at 2 and Caleb at 1.
No surprise.
You do too. Just to hit on real quick on Drake. Drake's got a great frame. He's got a great release. He's got arm talent to hit the throws. He is athletic enough. He can hold on to the ball a little bit long sometimes, and he is prone to turnovers. Like he's kind of careless. I don't want to say careless at times because it doesn't even seem like careless, but it's like he's holding the ball and he gets hit and it ends up a fumble or something like that. Or he tries to throw it when he's being hit and it ends up interception. He threw a lot of screens. My comparison for Drake May right now is Carson Palmer. If you throw on Carson Palmer when he was at USC, it looks pretty similar. Palmer had probably a stronger arm. Just Palmer had a hose. But that's just my thoughts on Drake real quick. Yeah. And then for Caleb's obviously really special. Dynamic playmaker. He takes care of the ball despite his crazy plays that he makes. And he senses pressure almost like with the sixth sense. You know, he does that little 360 to change field and roll out when he's getting pressure from his blind side. And he has a good understanding of zones pre-snap to immediately go where it needs to go. The personality, the character concerns are there. For me personally, people can call me a boomer. They can say I'm whatever, but it's I have personality concerns for him, and I have some concern about the way he extends plays. Zach Wilson obviously got away with it at BYU, and it's a different level of competition than what Caleb's dealt with. But I am always so hesitant about guys that do that insane extend the play, roll out, make it last forever. Burrow was great at it at LSU, but it's scary to project that to the next level. And Burrow is my current working copy. I think Caleb's a more athletic Burrow. Never going to compare someone to Mahomes. I don't think Caleb's got even close to the arm that Mahomes has.
No, I agree. Just to hit points that you didn't. For me, with Drake May, it's special to see for me how he moves, being 6'4", 230. He doesn't run like that at all. He runs like he's a smaller guy. 700 yards on the ground last year. That was a lot of rushes. He only had 3.8 yards per carry, but there was plenty of times he was making guys miss, running away from defenders, and it was the guy 6'4" with that arm talent as well is special to see. And he would be QB1 in a lot of drafts, I believe.
He would have been my QB1 last year.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
Who my QB1 was and how I felt about him.
Yeah, and for Caleb, obviously he's special. I mean, you can't. It's hard to find faults. 4,500 yards, 42 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. Like, it's just special. And yeah, it's the Lincoln Riley offense. Everyone knows that you're going to put up numbers as a quarterback. It's dated back, pre-COVID and years before that. Like, Lincoln Riley's always going to produce Heisman candidate quarterbacks. Doesn't matter who you are. But for me, and it sounds weird because he had 10 rushing touchdowns, but I honestly would like to see him run a little bit more. I think it's kind of what you were saying. He tries to extend plays. He does, he reverses field twice. He's looking down, and he's very accurate when he throws the ball. I'm not going to say he's not, but for me, I agree with you. I think it's the translation to the NFL is going to be kind of tough to do that. You're just not going to be able to do that. I mean, Mahomes kind of does it, but he doesn't. It's not the same. He's not doing what Caleb Williams is doing in college, and I would like to see Caleb just kind of take those yards on the ground. He's athletic enough to do it. I mean, he's not a burner, but he could get more yards on the ground and safe.
Yeah, I think people are going to actually be kind of shocked if Caleb does athletic testing, like what his testing will be. Mm-hmm. And he probably honestly won't even do it, and he probably won't even throw at the combine. He'll do a pro day and throw probably, and that's it.
He's locked in number 1 or number 2, depending obviously what team.
Yeah, like unless something drastic happens as of this moment, like he is locked in as a top 3 pick. But I think athletic testing wise, like I would be surprised if he was faster than a 4.65, and I think his arm is his arm's above average, but you can see the flutter on the deep ball. I don't think his arm is as great as people think. Now, don't get me wrong, I still have him graded incredibly high. Like he's my number 2 overall player on the board this year right now, and I'm almost done with my initial go through. Like I'm midway through my safeties right now. So Caleb's special in my opinion, but I don't think he's the cannon-armed Lamar Jackson. Like he's not what some people will act like he is sometimes.
Yeah, and like I said, he's special. He's gonna ball out. He's still gonna be a top 3 pick, and I'm sure he's gonna have plenty of success in the NFL level. But that Lincoln Riley offense is always something I point back to that, it's gonna prop up quarterbacks. Now I think this could arguably be his most talented quarterback he's had since, and he's had plenty of handful of top picks, and then a handful of top performing quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, you just look at Jalen Hurts, you look at Kyler Murray before all the injuries and all the stuff that's happening right now. Baker Mayfield is a different story. I was never sold on him, as you know, but he, Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 overall pick. You can't deny what he did in college. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for our quarterbacks. Everyone's going to have Drake May and Caleb Williams at 1 and 2 at in any order. There might be some hot takes, dropping one of them down, but I think it's too early to do all that. Let's see what they do in this upcoming season. But yeah, that's going to do it for this quarterback show for our 2024 NFL Draft preview.
1,